Hello, welcome. We
Hi,
are
Dad.
here. How are you, Miss Ava?
Amazing. Even better now that I'm here with you, and we're going to be talking about a tool from the foundation class. How does it get any better than that?
Hey, I'm so excited. We were laughing when we came in because we matched today. So we were like, and we're ready to talk about those. So Ava and I have a foundation class coming up really quickly in Danville, California on November 2nd to the 5th, I believe. And we thought it'd be fun in kind of preparation for the upcoming foundation to go over one of the tools in the foundation manual. And we might do this a couple times and just kind of extrapolate a little bit and see where that takes us. So it's so
Mhm.
funny when we started, we were both looking at the manual and what do we want to talk about today? And we ended up on the same page. So literally. So
Literally, Melissa was, let's talk about this. And my cursor on the index of, like, I was on the digital version of the manual, and it was literally on that same section. So apparently, we're talking about.
generosity of spirit. So, which is actually
Yay!
one of my favorite topics. And we figured we'll just read you maybe a line or two from it, and then we'll kind of just have a conversation. So, so generosity of spirit, if you have a foundation manual, and if you don't, get yourself to a foundation. So it says, when you have generosity of spirit, you do not make things a transactional reality. Generosity of spirit goes beyond a transactional reality. Generosity of spirit is where you look at everything from a different point of view. So,
That is so cool. And how much of our world is about transaction, which is basically you do this and I'll do that. You give me this and I'll give you that, like that give and take universe, rather than like even just perceive the energy of the world, generosity of spirit. Like it's such a different world and way of functioning altogether. Like a tree does not say that, okay, I'll give you oxygen, you give me water.
right.
It's that's not its point of view at all. So, what is generosity of spirit?
Yeah, I love your analogy with the tree, and it's so different how when you start to look at like how the earth receives, how trees receive, how just like the natural world receives is so different than what we create as this give and take reality with people of it's so much I'll do this and you'll give me this, or like everything is a transaction. And when you're willing to sort of go beyond that, that's where you start to get the simultaneity of gifting and receiving, where you are gifting from the generosity of spirit, not necessarily expecting a transaction, not expecting anything in return, but actually receiving from the being in the generosity of it. So it's so different than mostly like everything that is done here in this reality.
Yeah, I love that. Exactly. And it's sort of like generosity invites you to completely different space of being. And everything that nature is to me is generosity. And so everywhere we have separated from the nature that we are, because we don't often look at it, but we're here on the planet. We're part of the nature. We're not like that. We're not like a brick or mortar. Like, we're not constructual universe like a lot of buildings that we see around, right? We're part of the nature. We're as much nature as a tree is. So where did we give up living as and functioning as that nature that we be innately? And what would it be like to start claiming some of that again and really, really, really start living more as functioning more as that energy in our lives? Like what invitation that becomes to even people around you. And this whole generosity of spirit conversation to me is like such a different invitation to even look at, hey, where are you functioning from? Where in your life are you functioning from that transactional space? And is that your reality? Is that something that lights you up? Or is there something different that might be lighter for you? And if so, what is it?
Oh, my, I love that, Ava. And you know what popped when you were talking about like being part of the nature, right? Like where do we separate ourselves? Is even if you think of like animals, like if you have a dog or a cat, and how much that they function from generosity of spirit. Like they're
Mm.
so happy to see you and they're not like, "Oh, well, if you don't, give me, pet me today, then I won't come and hang out with you," right? They just be.
They don't
And
they don't even say if you don't give me, like, I have a dog, and if I like, literally today, we usually feed her at, like, 9 o'clock, and it was 11, and I assume my husband gave her food, and he thought I'm gonna give her food, and so we didn't give her food, and there was no point of view in her universe. She was as happy to see me as, she would have been ever, so it's such a different reality and such a different communion that you get to have and be and function in the world as. And another thing I find very fascinating is things like generosity of spirit are often those things that are quote unquote things that people turn into concepts rather
yeah,
than something you're living as, like, oh, this is a spiritual esoteric conversation, but then I got to get into my transactional world to make sure my needs are being met and stuff like that. But even if you look at that, what is an underlying point of view with that transactional reality universe? Is the
yeah.
underlying point of view abundance, or is the underlying point of view lack and need?
Yes, so much that. And wow, thank you for that too. Cause it's like when it's this esoteric conversation of like, oh yeah, we should function that way. But it's like that's not really how the world works. Or like that doesn't work for me. Like, oh, isn't that like a nice like isn't that like a very kumbaya conversation? And then, but it's like, what if it wasn't? Like, what if it is? Of course it makes you feel good, but why? Because it's light because there's something else possible than the way that most of us function. But when we talk about like it's about lack. It's about, well, I have to get something. If I don't get something, then why am I giving? And it's this constant look at how, like, what am I going to get from this? And it's like, well, what if it could be something so much greater than that and actually function from kindness? And I was reading this book, and it wasn't an Access book, but I was reading this book the other day, and it really sparked something because the author was talking about how you go into so many interactions with people of just like, what am I going to get from this person, or like, what am I going to get from this even this interaction. Like if you're at a party and then who's who at the party, so you're like, oh, I'm going to talk to this person because I know that if I can kind of rub elbows with them, maybe I can get something. And instead looking at like, what can I contribute to this person is such a
Mm.
different way of meeting people, interacting with people, of like, what can I contribute here? And I really looked at that for myself because I was like, wow, I can see the spaces where I've done that, where I've gone into places of like, oh, well, I wonder if I get to know this person, what can they create for me? And instead really looking at like, wow, like what if I changed that to what can I contribute here? And like, how much might that actually like change the energy of my whole world? And everybody's, right? If we are all willing to start to look at how we could contribute to each other, that is the generosity of spirit instead of like, what can I get here? You know?
Wow. Thank you for that. That is amazing and so true. Like I can see where I function from that place of what can I get here? And the
Mhm.
truth is that I don't even feel very good in those spaces when I'm being that. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel very great. It feels pretty pathetic, to be honest.
Right.
I have one more reason to judge myself.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't feel like me, right? It doesn't feel like you. It's like if I was being me here, what would I choose?
Exactly. And so, like, how much when you are being you, you are generosity of spirit. And so, even if no matter what industry you work in, no matter what kind of people you have to interact with, within your like everyday life, even if you look at exactly that situation and be like, if you were truly being you, even if nobody else there was, even if everything around you was about the transaction, if you were truly being you and being willing to be the generosity of spirit that you naturally be when you're being you, what a difference does that make in that scenario and in the world? Can you guys perceive that? Can you guys like tap into that possibility? And is that something that you're interested in? What are you interested in?
Yeah, that question. I love that. Is that something you're interested in? Because it's like, are you actually interested in creating a different reality? And, the tools, there's so many, right? This is not even a full page in the foundation manual. And I feel like we could probably talk about this forever. And there's so much in there that's like really the tools to creating a different reality. So this is one. And like imagine, like how many things are really possible to when we start to question like the way that we've been functioning from, and like instead ask that question of like, what are you interested in creating? And when you're being you, what does that create?
Totally. And it's like, what is your unique reality amid, all the different things that are there in the world? And especially now when things are like so changing, there are like wars going on, there are like all of these different things occurring. Like, to me, it's sort of like an invitation to like something different is available now, something different is becoming available now. So we would love to have you come join us in Danville, where we go like literally dive in for 3.5 days in questions and possibilities around what is actually true for you. What is it that you would like to create, and what is it going to take to create that, actualize that in your life and in the world?
Yay. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited.
Cool. So you
Amazing.
guys, yeah. Let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to tag Melissa or I. And I hope that we see you somewhere soon, maybe in Danville or somewhere else. But keep choosing, keep living your reality. And so, Melissa, if you were to just summarize on a wrapping note, the tool of the day, what would you say?
Wow. So generosity. I can't even talk. I'm already crying. Oh, it's amazing. Generosity of spirit is really about you having a simultaneity of gifting and receiving as your reality, and you being you, and having everything that you know is truly possible. I think
I
that's
love
all.
that.
I
Love that. So cool, you guys. You're warmly invited to come play with us. And if you enjoyed this interaction, let us know. We'd love to say hello to you in the comments. And we'll see you soon with another tool for another day. Until then, bye bye.
Bye.
Happy creation.